So this week, Richard Tice stood at a podium and told Britain that married couples would be going to the front of their social housing queue. I only just made a video on it. Less than 24 hours later, Reform sent someone to GB News to explain that policy, and by the end of the segment, she described a completely different policy. All live and all on air, and while a columnist who actually agreed with half of Reform's platform sat there and watched it happen. So, a quick catch up if you haven't seen the video from earlier. Reform's new housing plan puts British-born workers under 35, veterans and married couples with children at the front of a 1.3 million person waiting list. Richard Tice told the Radio Times that a married couple would beat a single person to a house because, in his words, they're doing the right thing. Then they sent out Laila Cunningham, their 2028 London Mayor candidate, into the GB News to defend it, opposite Mail on Sunday columnist Dan Hodges.
We're saying that the first people that one should be looking after are young British workers, under 35, young British married couples, young British veterans who've done the right thing. They've got a job, they're doing their best, working in their community, setting a fine example, because the role of the British government is actually to look after British citizens first. And we think that is the most important.
Now, Cunningham's first move isn't to defend what was said yesterday, it's to insist that it wasn't really said.
Same time,
your policy does not exclusively apply to refugees. But moving on from that...
No, it does not. We
exactly.
want British social housing.
Sorry, do I get interrupted? Or
Go on, Dan.
So,
now you may talk, Dan.
Thank you. So, but what I find even more bizarre is firstly the fact that with this policy Reform are seeking to penalise pensioners, and secondly are seeking to penalise people who aren't married. And I just do not understand the logic of that policy.
So it's not penalised. So I think what Richard said was misunderstood. He said it is preferable.
Richard Tice didn't say preferable to a columnist trying to catch him out. He said it to Times Radio, unprompted, and used the word objective. That's in the previous video, and if you want to check that for yourself. Framing objective is merely preferable 24 hours later isn't clarifying the policy, it's just quietly rewriting it. And Hodges doesn't let it go.
What he said was it's obviously preferable to have
No, he
two
didn't
parents.
say that. No, I'm sorry, he didn't say that. He said, no, he didn't. He said your policy is going to prioritise young married couples, and by definition it will penalise pensioners and it will penalise people who are single parents.
Cunningham's answer is to deny the premise. Vulnerable people, she says, always go to the top. Pensioners aren't being penalised. Nobody's being punished. And Hodges keeps pushing on the actual mechanics until there's nowhere left to go.
Based on your policy, vulnerable pensioners will come behind young married couples.
Vulnerable people will always go to the top of the list. It's the same.
But that's not what your policy says.
It's the same with single
mothers. That's not what your policy says.
We are setting priorities.
Yeah, and your priorities... I'm sorry. Yes, you're setting priorities.
Yes, it doesn't...
And your priorities, we've just heard it, your priorities are young married couples.
It doesn't mean that we're declaring, single families as less morally acceptable.
You are. You're prioritising married couples over single families.
Prioritising married couples.
Hold on. I'm sorry. What is the policy? Are you prioritising married couples over single parents, or are you not? Are you prioritising young people over pensioners or not?
Families with children will always go to the top.
Hold on a second. Married families or married couples with children, which was in bold in their document, and what Lee Anderson said from the podium, just now it's families with children. The marriage requirement, the entire headline from the conference, has quietly vanished.
So that is a vulnerability when you have a child.
Families with children. So yes. What we saw Richard Tice say is wrong.
What families with children can be divorced or not?
Sorry.
Hold on a second, wait a minute. The person defending the marriage priority policy just told the country that the divorced families with children also go to the top of the queue, which means the policy reform announced the very same morning and the policy reform is describing now are completely different policies.
Sorry, this is the problem. With respect, this is the problem. Reform announces a policy, and within 10 minutes the whole policy falls apart.
Yeah, I don't think I can improve on that. Fair play to Dan Hodges. Now, if you enjoy what I do here and you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Memberships are open as well if you'd like to support me and the channel. But it kind of went from a bad TV appearance into something that's a little bit more uncomfortable. Because a few minutes earlier, defending the exact same policy, Cunningham had said this.
Listen, I was a single mum. My husband left me with 4 little children suddenly. And the number one fear I had was, what effect would that have on my children when they don't live with mum and dad?
Now, I suppose you could say that's just a throwaway line, but Cunningham was married in 2004, divorced in 2014, and didn't remarry until 2018. 4 years is exactly the kind of single parent her own party's document ranks behind a married couple. She used her own history to make the policy sound humane, and then by doing that, she's described precisely the person Reform's housing plan was written to put behind everyone else, which makes 3. Richard Tice, married, 24 years, divorced in 2019. Lee Anderson, 2 marriages ended. And now Laila Cunningham, divorced once, single parent for 4 years. Here on GB News, defending a policy that would have ranked her past self below a married couple she wasn't yet able to be. This isn't a party struggling to sell a policy. It's a party whose own spokespeople can't even agree on the policy, what it should be, using their own broken marriages to defend it, less than a day after announcing it. I mean, come on. Reform can find £30 billion down the back of a pension scheme without blinking. They cannot apparently hold on to one consistent sentence about who gets a house. I mean, if your own people are rewriting the policy live on GB News, then it's never really a policy. It was just a headline that hadn't survived contact with a single follow-up question. And if you want the cleanest example of why Reform can announce a policy like this and not expect anyone to check the small print, just look at what happened in Clacton the very same week. Farage's own team threw a party to celebrate his by-election win. Bars, live music, a Ferris wheel, hundreds of people, an overnight festival on an airfield. Even Laila Cunningham here looks like she's had one too many baby shams. They applied for permission, the council said no because they missed the deadline, and well, they just did it anyway. Tendering District Council is now investigating whether that broke the law, and if it did, the maximum penalty for a fine or up to 6 months in prison. Now, that is an investigation, so nobody's actually been charged yet, but the pattern is the same we've just watched for 6 minutes. Reform writes rules for other people to live by, married or not, British born or not, permission granted or not, and treats their own compliance with those rules as optional. Ask, get told no, and yet do it anyway, and worry about the consequences later, if there are any. And to see more about the marriage policy that they announced, you need to check out the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.